Hello everyone, welcome to another video. This is part 13 of my Gateway API for Kubernetes series. For the last couple videos of this series, I want to move away from the Azure Application Gateway for containers, and I want to show you how we can use the Gateway API while we have it running inside our own Kubernetes cluster. So if you're using Ingress, you might already know this. There are offers like Nginx, Envoy, Traffic that can be hosted inside your cluster, and you don't have to rely on any external provider or any cloud provider. So the plan for today is I'm going to show you how you can install Nginx Gateway Fabric. So that's an Nginx offering, and it will be running inside the cluster, and it will do the same as with the Azure offerings. This means we will have our Gateway API, we will have a gateway class, and we can use it the same way as the Azure Application Gateway for container. The differences are that I don't have to pay for it because it's running inside my cluster. So this means for especially small projects, it might be cost effective. On the other side, I have to pay for the resources it needs. So if I have a lot of requests to process, then I probably have to scale out my cluster and therefore have more costs for my cluster. So you have to check what solution might be the best. To get started, I think that's a great way to learn the Gateway API, because in the demo we'll see it will take like 2 to 3 minutes to set it up and have it running. On the other side, the Application Gateway for containers takes around half an hour to set up if you already know what to do. If you're new to it and you don't know what to do, it might take an entire afternoon or even longer. So to summarize, to get started, to learn, that's an absolute amazing offer. And in the next video, I'm going to show you the same setup, but with Traffic. And in the third video, I'm going to show you the setup with Envoy Proxy. I picked Nginx because when I prepared for the videos, it was the easiest to set up. Therefore, the first one I want to start with. So for Nginx, we have a free and a paid version. The free version offers plenty of features, so that's by far good enough to get started to learn the Gateway API. But if you want more features like more security, observability, then you have to take a look at the paid version. Today, I'm only going to show you how we can set it up. This means we are going to install Nginx, and we have a test application, and we'll access this test application over the Gateway API. Everything beyond this, please take a look at the documentation. I will have a link in the description down below. Then, as I said before, the gateway runs inside the cluster. This means we don't have a vendor login. It doesn't matter if the cluster is running on-premise, on Azure, AWS. We can just use it everywhere the same way because everything is in the cluster. This means we don't have any cloud dependencies. So for example, if we want to move from Azure to AWS, we can just take our cluster and move it. It will just work once you have set it up there. Or on the downside is we have to take care of everything. This means we have to monitor, we have to scale out our Nginx pods if we have a lot of requests, but we don't have any dependencies. As you will see in the demo, it's super easy to set up. All we need is to install a Helm chart and the custom resource definitions for the Gateway API. With this said, let's switch over to the terminal and let's get started creating our Kubernetes cluster and then install Nginx as our Gateway API. All right, here in the terminal, let's first define a couple of variables. That's the name of the Kubernetes cluster, the location, and the name of the resource group. Then I'm providing the name of the namespace where I'm going to deploy the gateway in, and also the name of the gateway. And lastly, I provide the namespace and the name of the test application. Here I'm using Traffic as my test application, therefore I also name it Traffic. Next up, we're going to create our resource group. Once the resource group is deployed, we create our AKS cluster. As you can see, it's as simple as possible. So just the name and the resource group. And if you are not using AKS or Azure, as I said, don't worry, it doesn't matter. You can use whatever Kubernetes cluster you want. Can be AWS, Google, on-premise, it doesn't matter. I'm an Azure guy, therefore I use AKS. So this will take around 5 minutes. And once this is finished, we'll continue the video. Before I stop the video, as always, you can find all the demos I showed today in the description down below. So you can just copy paste it from GitHub and you don't have to type anything yourself. So I'm going to stop the video now and I see you once the cluster has been deployed. The cluster has been deployed. The last step is now to download the credentials so we can access it. Once this is done, let's clean up the window and now we can install our Nginx. But first we have to deploy or install the CIDs for the Gateway API. That's the custom resource definitions and we have to deploy them because the Gateway API is not part of core Kubernetes. This means it's not available without installing them. So if you install them, it should only take a couple seconds. There you can see we have all the resources we know from the last couple videos. For example, you can see we have here backend TLS policies, gateway classes, gateways, HTTP routes, all resources we have been using before. So now we have them installed and now we can install the Helm chart for the Nginx Gateway Fabric. To do this, we are going to use the Helm chart. And as you can see, I again kept it as simple as possible. So all I do is provide the namespace and I create the namespace because it doesn't exist yet. But with Helm, we can override the YAMLs, the values.yaml file. This means we can update almost everything of the deployment. For example, how many replicas we want, names, and so on. But for now, let's just keep it as simple as possible. And as you can see, it has been already deployed. Now, if you take a look at all the gateways we have in our cluster, then we can see we don't have any. And if you look for the gateway class, here we don't have to provide a namespace because it's cluster-wide already. There we can see we have a gateway class. The name is Nginx. And what's important is that accepted is set to true. This means the deployment worked. If accepted is false, then something went wrong. Usually it's a naming or some custom resource definitions are missing. But here everything looks good. And this means as a next step, we can create our gateway. So let's clean this up and let me paste our gateway. Here the gateway is basically the same we used in all the videos before. This means we have the kind is gateway. We provide a name and a namespace. Then what's important here as the gateway class name, we provide Nginx. That's the gateway class we just saw, which has been deployed by Nginx. And lastly, we have one listener that's listening on port 80 and it allows traffic from all namespaces. This makes it easy to test our application. And it also makes sense if you only want to have one gateway for your entire cluster. If you want to have one gateway per namespace, then you would change this last setting here to same. But again, as I said, let's keep it as simple as possible. So we allow everything for now. Then we apply this gateway. This should take a couple seconds. And now, since I'm using an AKS cluster, I will get a public IP address, and then we can use this public IP address to test the test application. If you're using it on-prem, then you can do a port forwarding and will achieve the same result. So now, while I've been talking, the gateway should be deployed. So let's take a look at the gateway. Again, what's important here, the programmed is set to true. This means everything worked or seems to work at least. Then here we have the public IP address, what I just mentioned. This is provided by Azure. And here we can also see the name of the gateway and the class, so what we just configured. I can also do a query for the public IP address, so I can use it later. And if you take a look at the variable, we can see it's the same public IP address. And that's already everything you have to do to set up the Gateway API with Nginx. Now we're going to deploy a test application and we'll test it. But if you have your own application, you can already stop here and use your own application. All you have to do is deploy the application, have an HTTP route pointing to the gateway, and that's it. So for the test application, let me paste everything in here. Since the test application is not really a focus of this video, it's just going to be a big bunch of YAML. If you take a very quick look, we're going to deploy a new namespace. Then we have a new deployment with just one pod. Here we can see we're using the traffic who am I image. It's listening on port 80. So very simple. Then we have a service. And this one is cluster IP. This means we have to go through our Gateway API to access this service and therefore our application. Then let's deploy everything. This should only take a couple seconds, but while the test application is being deployed, let's create our HTTP route. Again, that's something I've shown you in the videos before. What's important here is I deployed in the same namespace as the test application. I have a reference to the name of the gateway and the namespace where it's deployed. Then I have a match to any path. This means everything is routed to this application. And to be precise, the traffic app, that's the test application, and it will be routed on port 80. So that's exactly how we set up our service and our deployment. Then let's apply this HTTP route. This will also take now a couple seconds, then it should be available. While everything is being set up, let's take a quick look at our traffic namespace. So that's our test application. Here you can see we have the service with an internal IP. We have our pod that's running, and with the replica set, everything is working as expected as well. Now we can already test it. So we can either open the browser or we can just do a simple curl. So here, just a curl HTTP on the IP address, and I use the basic parsing because we're using HTTP and I don't want to get any warnings. After I execute this, we can see here the HTTP status 200. The host name is the traffic. So that's the pod we have just seen. Then if we scroll a bit further down, we see again here the host name, but no errors and everything worked. And we can see we have accessed the test application through our Gateway API. And it took only maybe 3 minutes to set up Nginx, then another 2 minutes for the test application, and everything is already working. Additionally, I don't have to pay for anything outside my cluster. I don't have any dependencies, so I can get started learning now, or I can even use it for probably smaller applications. All right, that's already everything I wanted to show you today. So I hope you have seen that it takes only like 2-3 minutes maybe to set up Nginx as our Gateway API. We only have to deploy the CID, the custom resource definitions for the Gateway API. Then we used the Helm chart of the Nginx, and it was up and running. After we have deployed Nginx, we deployed our gateway with an HTTP listener, our test application, then one HTTP route. So we have the link from the gateway to our test application, and we tested everything and it worked as expected. So I guess everything takes less than 10 minutes and we have it set up and working with the Gateway API. Additionally, we now don't have any dependencies on a cloud provider. This means if I want to set up my Kubernetes cluster somewhere else, I don't have any problems, any additional costs. I have just a small cluster, so it's perfect to get started with the Gateway API, to get learning, try out new things. And once I'm done, I just delete it. And if I need it again, I'll just deploy it in another 10 minutes. If you have any questions, please let me know down in the comments. If you like this kind of videos, please leave a like. Next week, I'm going to show you how you can do the same setup with traffic. And I will also tell you about all the problems I had with the documentations and how I got it working. Just a quick spoiler is, with the official documentation, I was not able to get traffic working. But once you have set it up, it's almost as easy as traffic. With this, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I see you next week with a new video.